Hello and welcome to DCG's development update. We are here with the development teams, the platform, the core, and the mobile team. And we are planning this update for about 1 hour to finish it in 1 hour. And we will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the live chat below. Please use a prefix Q or question so we'll know that it is directed to us to answer and not just part of the community chat. All right, without further ado, let's start with Sam and the platform team.
Yep, sounds good.
I am sharing the screen in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And
No, I see myself.
do you
Okay.
see now the
Yeah, it's good.
good.
Okay. So, what have we really been working on? Platform. I made a mistake here. Well, yes, platform stability, me, Ivan, and Lukasz. I've also been working on withdrawals. So not much. I would say that about 50% of this last 2 weeks were features, platform features. About no, maybe not. 20% were features, 50% were stability, and the rest was withdrawals and some other stuff for me personally. But yeah, stability did take a lot of time, and we're going to be talking about a 1.3 release that is coming, within a few hours, hopefully, and we'll talk about that later in this review. Paul has continued his work on the TUI. Evgeny has made a lot of improvements to the visualizer, and he's going to talk about them. Ivan also worked a little bit on Dashmate. So let's go into things. So just one thing, like we had this successful criteria, right, for everything working perfectly. Since last time 2 weeks ago we did complete a successful epoch. We actually completed two, so everything went very well. And then the last one was proposers are somewhat equally distributed dash credits at the end of the epoch. That one's a, well, somewhat, yes. I guess somewhat is pretty nuanced. So we did have two issues there, and those two issues were, the first issue is that basically if a proposer did not propose a block, the next proposer could basically propose a block for them and claim their credits. So you had some that got a little bit too lucky. So at the very beginning, this was completely luck based, right? And um, like nobody, I don't think anybody knew about this in advance. And if you actually look at when the Evo nodes were created, you'll notice that like none appeared in the list recently. So this wasn't exploited. However, more recently, we have seen people exploit this issue, and so they're getting paid more. The 1.3 release is going to fix this, and I'm going to talk about the 1.3 release and what we're doing to make sure that this happens as quickly as possible. There was one more issue. The other issue is that the first proposer in a quorum seems to not propose blocks, and that also is very bad. I mean, that is the most unlucky thing possible. And we had no clue. We didn't actually catch that right away. We caught it more recently, like a week ago, maybe a little bit less than a week ago, and yeah, so that's also going to be fixed in 1.3. 1.3 should activate in 7 days, and we'll talk a little bit about the activation process in 1.3 in a future slide. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Other desired outcomes. under load. We haven't done our load test yet. The reason why is because we've been focused on stability for right now. We will do the load test as soon as we feel like the critical issues have been solved. And we can't really check the fees until we do load tests because there just isn't enough transactions to actually just to see on chain if how much data is really costing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we still have these to do. We're at about 8,300 blocks. No chain stalls. No known issues in the blockchain sense of things for what is currently active. Well, a few little asterisks is there. We have about 1,500 transactions, 14 data contracts, 281 identities, and we have right now about 10 Evo nodes offline per quorum, so that's shrunk and it's getting smaller as more Evo nodes come online. I think in total we have 200 and we over 200 Evo nodes now, maybe 210. So that's pretty good. There is one thing that I would like to point out is that this chain does not work like Bitcoin or Dash Core, in the fact that if we don't have a lot of transactions, a block. So when a transaction appears on the network, if there are no transactions in mempool, a block will be fired off immediately. Meaning that if we're not getting more than one transaction every 3 seconds, we will never have blocks with more than one transaction. Or, I mean, yes, if two things happen at the same time, that could happen, right? But most of the time, we're only going to be seeing one transaction per block until we get significant usage, or maybe two transactions. So somebody said, I think it was Joel said more recently that transactions need we need to see a flippening, but yeah, it's not going to happen for a while, just because of the way the system works, right? We're just going to see more and more blocks if we get more and more transactions. Okay, let's move on. Next slide. Okay, so yes, Lukasz, this is yours.
Hi, so I did work a bit on stuff that was related to like launch and support and building some visibility into what's happening to the network. But my main tasks were on Tender Dash, so we're working on Tender Dash 1.3.0, and there is a small bug fix actually, but it doesn't affect the mainnet, where one of the libraries was just doing false positives. It's merged, and for that 1.3.0, we will also add the fix for the not fair proposer selection that Sam already mentioned. So what is tricky in that is that we need to have some code that will work correctly with previous, so current algorithm that we have on mainnet. But when the activation happens, which I think some we also mentioned a bit, or we'll mention later on. So when the activation happens of new version, it will just switch the way we select proposers so that it will be a fair algorithm. So the issue that we have right now, which happens when some node doesn't propose, should be fixed with that fix. And there is also one outstanding bug that we have almost fixed, but it doesn't go into 1.3. It's just to let us know how many how many nodes didn't vote on a proposal. It didn't vote at all. So we don't have that metric right now. It's 0. This fix should fix that, but it will be in 1.4 most likely, or 1.3.1. And that's it on my side.
Paul.
Yeah, thank you. I made some updates to the TUI. We've had a couple users that noticed some bugs, like mainly related to updating for mainnet. A couple community members and a bunch from Sam. So I worked on fixing those. And I also updated the README. So now there's directions for how to set up on mainnet, testnet, and local networks as well. And I added a tutorial basically to go from installation to registering a DPNS username in the GitHub README of the TUI. And I'm continuing to work on a screen to get the node statuses, go through the list of all the mainnet nodes and get like the latest block height and other information. Yeah, so continuing to work on that. There's still a couple bugs that need resolving. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Agni.
Hello. Been a while. So previously slide was called Road to V1, and here we are with actual V1, I would say, of visualizer. And last three improvements we had Merkle tree view, because in new version it was semi-done, now it's fully done and usable. Also proof visualization. We had proof visualization before as a list, because proofs are basically a list of operations, and now it is merged with Merkle tree view on top of it to have a more user-friendly look at the proofs, the most complex part of the GroupDB. And this also required a session support, because proofs and these items of subtree that under these proofs that we merge are loaded separately. That means we need to have one session of visualizer to fetch this data, and this data is required to be in sync. And yeah, there will be a demo. I'll show all of it now. I hope you see two windows now. So on the left, we have visualizer window in the browser, and on the right, an empty terminal. So the thing it's about sessions. It is basically a GroupDB snapshot. We use them all the time, and here it also have a good use of it. It is a snapshot of GroupDB that visualizer accesses, and it will be cleaned up in 10 minutes of no usage. So this debugging session I started a while ago before the demo, and I expect now that the session will be terminated in background. So if I fetch data, yes, on the log window it says session is expired, and it started a new one. So if I look at the terminal, I see this tmpcu. It's a GroupDB snapshot. If I start a new session, so it's terminating node 1, creating a new one. So it will be the different snapshot. So I'm telling you that because it won't occupy all the space. It will clean up itself, and it's just for these purposes for consistent debugging session. So that was latest improvement, and it is all needed for this. Have a Merk view. Merk view allows us to take a look at the subtree. So on the right, we have a root subtree. On the left, we can fetch additional nodes of it and look closer, or take a closer look on this avail, Merkleized avail tree. And session is needed if we open a query builder, because right now I want to show you how queries are done and how proofs will be visualized there. So we start with a root tree, and in root tree, let's say I want to load one identity. So we can go into identities under key 32, and for this identity subtree, we want to, okay, let's say query all identities, but since we have a limit of 1, it will load only one identity, and we want to prove it. So proof viewer says we have proof for root tree and a layer proof. So now take a look in the Merkle view. We see a new colors there in purple. Purple is a Merkle path of a node we requested. And on higher level, it is a root subtree. So here we prove that the identity subtree exists. Here it is, and it's a part of the proof. This KV value hash, so it's what's inside. So root node and value hash. Also, you see by the color, it also sent us Merk node hashes of left and right children. So if you want to verify it, we make a combined hash of all these three, and then go upwards, use right child, also hash, also combine it, and we'll eventually have root hash of the application. But we required for proof of identity. So we go in the lower level, layer proof of identity, and with this button, we go into identity subtree. And here it is the proof for that one identity that we limited to 1. Somewhere below. Should be under key 03B. Yeah, here it is. Here is the whole Merkle path to this identity up to the root of identity subtree. And if you like, also a high level for the identity subtree itself. So here, using this proof viewer, we can navigate through different layers, and these proof layers are merged with Merk views we choose. So also it's accessible from there. We can adjust this. Or from there. Clean it up. Yes, mostly that's it. So new Merk view, proof view merged with Merk view, and sessions.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
I think also, like, people that are watching this right now, probably nobody understands what well, maybe very few people actually just understood what just happened. But it's really cool for somebody who does understand. Take my word for it. It also kind of shows that, like, we didn't cut corners here. We really did the whole shebang. Like, we have like a multi-dimensional database, multi-dimensional like Merkle tree, rotating Merkle tree with proofs, like, as our storage layer. Like, it's pretty amazing.
I think this new view should like help anyone to understand what's happening there. It even helped for me.
Yeah, I mean, for developers, right? I mean, for non-developers, I think it's going to be too complex, right? But for developers, yeah, they'll see and they'll be like, oh, in my data contract, wow, it's using too much space. What did I do wrong with my, when they're testing on testnet, what did I actually do wrong? And then they can go into their data contract, and then they can see how their data is actually stored and be like, wait, this is storing too much data. Maybe I need to change my data contract. And then they'll probably, maybe see some new features that they did not know existed. So it's going to be a tool for developers. and also for us internally to make new features come faster, be released faster. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about roadmap and how things are going with releases. So originally we had Evolution 1.3, and it was supposed to release on September 23rd/24th, depending on where you are in the world. It was, I mean, for me, it would have been the 24th. For Europe, I think it would have been the 24th. For the US, it would have been the 23rd. We're actually moving that up because we have a critical issue that needs to be addressed in contested usernames. The critical issue is actually really, really bad, and it's amazing that it got through our testing. When a contested username would finish, it would delete all other documents in the same vein as the contested username. So like in the same type of vote poll. Basically, it would delete too much data. Then when the other contest tries to finish, it would go and search for that data, see that the data is just not there, and be like, wait, we have a panic in the consensus, in the state of the system, and the chain would stall. So right now, if we didn't do anything to our network, contested usernames would start on the 23rd, and the chain would stall 2 weeks later on the when would it stall? It would stall 2 weeks later on the early October, sometime early October. So obviously we don't want the chain to stall. So we're releasing 1.3, like 95% we release it today, if not today, tomorrow, but we actually have it ready. We're just need to test something on testnet before releasing it to mainnet. We've already tested some things, but we have one last test to do on testnet. So, yeah, this also fixed the rounds issue that we saw. So it will give proposers the a good position in the queue. It also fixes the first proposer in the quorum, where they were just never proposing a block. Now it will. It also has two new queries, get identity balances. Before we had get one identity balance. Now we're having, you can query multiple identity balances. It also allows you to get the proposer block count per epoch. So you can get that for your current epoch. You can also get it for any epoch that has happened in the past. So you can say, if you're like 2 years from now, you can say, how many blocks did I propose 2 years ago? It's all there, and you can query it. We also are releasing a new tool to debug problems for Evo called Dashmade Doctor Diagnostic. So that will help people that run into issues and have their nodes go down to figure out why their nodes are going down. We also are rotating core logs. So now core logs will be rotated. Ivan worked on that. I don't really have more information than the fact that I reviewed it and I merged it in, but I don't really know how it works internally. One more thing here is that 1.3 is a special type of release. It is there's a normal update process, right? That is the normal way that we'll upgrade. And then there is what is called basically the accelerated, I mean, it's a bad word, right? But it's an accelerated release, this 1.3. What does that mean? Normally what happens is people have a grace period of 1 epoch once the majority of the network believes that they have updated. In this case, because we cannot afford 1 epoch, we have built in an accelerated release in here, meaning that at the end of this epoch, everybody who has not upgraded will stall. So we're going to be releasing that today. That will give people around 6 days, 5-6 days to upgrade. And we believe that that will be enough. If we do not get 67% upgraded, the chain will stall until we do have 67% upgraded. So yeah, just upgrade. I don't think it's going to be a big problem. Remember the first time when we released, we were having problems getting to 67%. That was because a lot of nodes had lost their keys when they switched to Dashmate from the original system that they had. And that's why, even though we had 81 that had upgraded, we only had, well, 66 at one point, or 65 that actually had the keys, so we didn't get to 67%. But this time, I do think that it will be, it's a quite achievable goal to get to 67. What will happen immediately? So the fix for the contested usernames actually happens at a little bit later. It will happen one epoch later, but because there won't be any contested usernames that actually run into this issue for 2 weeks, that's no issue. The round should consume the proposer's position. That will happen immediately. The first proposer, that will happen immediately. The get multiple identity balance will happen immediately. Actually, there's only one thing that does not happen immediately. It's the fix for the contested usernames, and that will happen at the actual activation of V2. So, which is one epoch later. And and you might be wondering, you probably are not, but I'll say it anyways. Why is this not all happening immediately? I tried to do that. It would have taken a few days to do. So there is an actual reason why we always have to wait one epoch for code changes, and the contested username is actually it's a different type of change. Anyways, doesn't matter. Upgrade fast as soon as we release today. Let's go into the rest of the roadmap. There's some changes here. So withdrawals, right? Originally, we said we were going to release them 23rd, 24th, basically on Epoch 3. I was alerted yesterday of an issue on core. So the issue is basically that the core will only process withdrawals for a few hours a day. It was a oversight. They put in only using 2 quorums instead of the full 24. So that basically means that only 2 out of 24 are valid at a time. We can know which ones are valid because it's deterministic. So what we're going to do in platform, we actually had a big debate over, should we wait for a core fix or should we just go with withdrawals? We've decided to just go with withdrawals. And the reasoning is the core team doesn't believe that a quick release is doable at this point. And at the same time, delaying withdrawals for a month seems to not be in the network's interest. So, you know, I think that just having 2 per, like having withdrawals, but having to wait on average maybe 12 to probably 10 to 14 hours for that withdrawal to happen, I don't think that that's a big problem. It might happen immediately, right? So if you make your withdrawal when one of those 2 quorums is active of the 24, then the withdrawal will happen immediately. If it isn't active, then we'll just queue up the withdrawal until core will be able to understand withdrawals. So yeah, kind of hacky, but we want Evo nodes to be able to have their withdrawals as soon as possible. Okay. Just so people understand here, though, when the withdrawals happen, we release on the 26th. ideally 1.4 should activate, should lock in, sorry, on the 2nd of October. So people will need to upgrade to 1.4 between the 26th of September and the 2nd of October. And then after that, it will lock in 9 days later. I mean, it will activate 9 days later. So 9 days after the 2nd of October. So around the 11th or 12th of October is when we should probably see the first withdrawals on the network. The other thing in 1.4 is max gas to use processing fees only. I put this as a maybe. I'm going to try to get this done as well, and with some help from the team members, but I'm not sure. It's not really the priority for 1.4. We'll just see if it's doable. If not, it will be in 1.5. Okay, so going to 1.5. We'll do 1.5 about a month later. I've split up 1.5 to make things a little bit more clean. We'll have fungible tokens and we'll have SDK improvements. And then for November, next slide, 1.6. Mid-November, we will have state sync initial version and performance improvements and a simple proof of service system. So that's currently the roadmap up till mid-November, which is not far away, right? That's less than 2 months. A lot of releases happening in quick succession. So I hope everybody is attentive and going to upgrade quite quickly when the new versions are out. Oh yes, DashPay mobile release. Yeah, I mean, activation was on the 3rd of September. I guess I forgot to remove that line. In 1.3, we're moving contested usernames from Epoch 3 to Epoch 4. There are 2 reasons for this. The first reason is that with all the changes and the big fix that we've done to contested usernames, it's not safe, in my opinion, to have the contested usernames start until we verify that the fix is working well over the next 9 days. We're doing this quite at accelerated pace and issues can arise. So it's a lot safer to just move it back an epoch. We're able to do that. It's not like us doing it. It's in the 1.3 release. So if the 1.3 release is activated, it moves back. But if it doesn't activate, we get a chain stall. So please do activate 1.3. So that basically means that the mobile release for DashPay will be 9 days later. Now we're targeting a 2nd of October release. And the second reason why this is important is because while Android seemed to be close to being ready, maybe being ready, with maybe not enough testing, iOS definitely was not. I personally am planning on going in and trying to help as soon as I have withdrawals ready. So we can try to make sure that release goes well for mobile. Okay, core team.
Alrighty, thank you, Sam. So a lot of this stuff here on the right side was originally slated for V22. Given the kind of bug and withdrawals that we found yesterday, we're not going to, rush out V22 by any means, but we are trying to accelerate it and make sure that, obviously we don't want withdrawals only being available, 2 out of the 24 hours per day kind of a thing. So we are going to make sure that we get V22 out in the near future while still being prudent about it, giving our partners enough time to upgrade, everything like that. So V22 scope has been kind of trimmed down a little bit. BIP 324 is still getting very aggressively worked on for V22. I'm not sure if it'll be able to be completed for V22. I do think that might end up getting pushed out into 22.1, but I am hopeful that we'll be able to get it done. Otherwise, it'll basically have the asset locks fix, which will be a hard fork that'll be activated via EHF, and as well as some improvements to headers sync and downloading. This has the potential to make mobile clients faster and more data efficient. And we're also improving kind of the handling of DSQ messages. That's been merged in now. And so that's going to reduce bandwidth requirements across the board for masternodes especially. We should see a noticeable decrease in bandwidth usage. So otherwise on the v22.x or v23 side, we've got some things that we want to do in the near future, but probably will not make the cut to be done in time for a kind of expedited v22. So Assume UTXO is a cool project, but I'm pretty sure Bitcoin has had it merged in now for a little bit. But it would allow you to basically sync and start your chain from 100 blocks in the past or something like that. And you could say, I don't care about all the history. I don't want to know all the history. I don't want to validate all the history. And it would allow you to get up a basically full node in a trusted way that is very quick and very quick to get it set up. So that's cool. It wouldn't be available for masternodes probably because they would still need to serve old blocks, but for general users it could make the process of installing and starting up Dashcore a lot more seamless. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Platform initiated proof of service banning is another thing that is on the v22 roadmap and is now getting kind of pushed back towards 22.1 probably. The nice part about this is the way that we are planning to implement it is this is not a hard fork, and so it would not need to be in v23. So we can implement that in 22.1 and get that out earlier. This way, Evo nodes that aren't providing service on platform will also eventually get banned on the core chain. So this helps make sure that the validator set that platform is using is a good validator set and doesn't have a high percentage of kind of problematic non-functioning platform nodes. We are also investigating extensible kind of addresses in the deterministic masternode list. This is still a to-do. It's something that needs to be investigated and researched more, and eventually a DIP will be written. But the high-level concept is having the ability, but not the requirement, to put something like IPv6 or an onion address or an I2P address into your ProRegTX. Everyone would still be required to have an IPv4 address for masternodes, but this would provide a kind of path forward to having better IPv6 support on the network, as well as potentially using onion services for mixing, because now that would be actually tied to a masternode. And you could actually validate that that is the masternode's proper address. So that the plan is to have a dip out on that at some point in the next month or two, and then that will get started for development. And that would be a hard fork. It does change the masternode list, and so that would have to be in part in version 23. Otherwise, we do want to have some better governance and masternode managing tools inside of Dashcore itself. So, we have the governance tab that shows a list of proposals, having the ability to vote yes or vote no or abstain on any given proposal just by kind of right-clicking on it if your voting key is known to that wallet would be a nice kind of quality of life feature for some masternodes, I think, as well as the ability to not have to use, the ProRegTX kind of command line tooling and introduce a GUI wrapper around that. And then finally, work in progress or experimental hardware wallet support. This is something that I believe Bitcoin Core does have some experimental support for as well, and so we wouldn't be starting from scratch. But yeah, that's kind of the plan right now for V22 and then 22.1 or 23. I was really hopeful to get a version 21.1 out that included some of these features, but now that we want to get this asset unlock fix out, it makes more sense to just kind of rebrand version 21.1 as version 22 and include that breaking change in hard fork. So V22 will be a mandatory upgrade for everyone. It is a hard fork, or will be a hard fork. I don't have a firm timeline to publish at this point, but we are kind of starting that process now. We expect we'll be releasing a product brief in the near future to give forward notice to exchange partners and the like that there is a update coming that they will need to be aware of. And then in the next over the next couple of weeks to month, we'll be doing DevNet and testnet testing to validate that everything included in this release is performant and doing well. So, all right, I think we can move forward from here. Basically, on this next slide, there's just a list of merge PRs over the last 2 weeks. Decent little chunk, lots of backports. A lot of these are actually BIP324 related and preparation. A lot of these network backports, Adderman, are all kind of BIP324 related. So there's a lot of work that Kitty Whiskers has been putting in to get us moving towards and get the code base ready for BIP324. So yeah, like I said, hopeful we can get that in 22 as maybe a optional or experimental feature that isn't on by default, but I would really love to see BIP324 getting wrapped up. So yeah, anyway, this is the list. You can read through them more. Some stuff about CI, lots of backports, lots of networking. Yeah, that will wrap it for core. We can move on to mobile.
All right, thanks, Pasta. Yeah, so on Android, again, reminder, this is the last sprint we had a week ago. Some work on the Android side for the Rust libraries, and I mean, as you can see, lots of username requests related work, both front end and back end. Most of the request process has been finished, both for contested and non-contested usernames. In the current sprint we're in, we're now moving into the voting, the changes on the voting side. The area handling, kind of second round of area handling improvements, that's kind of what wrapped up our username requests processes. And we also have merged our DashPay branch into Dash Wallet. Basically, what that means is all the code is now in one, essentially, repo, and we're doing all of our development on that kind of one branch. We've hidden all of the DashPay features, obviously, because we don't want them activated yet, except for balance mixing. So we are going to expose that feature in Dash Wallet. So you'll start to see that in Android. That release hopefully should be, if not in the next day or so, early next week, and probably will be made available as a beta. So not in the Play Store, but as a beta for people to just get their hands on. The intent there is just so people have time to start mixing their balances on Dash Wallet before they try to request a username. So that's Android. The next slide on iOS. Again, all kind of DashPay related, nothing on Dash Wallet, Dash Sync, and library related work, and a ton of CoinJoin activity. This is mostly backend, but there's been a lot of kind of everything really going on here. It's integrating all the backend work that's been being worked on to the front end and fixing bugs kind of along the way. So that's that right now. We are having a bit of an issue on the iOS side to get a functional DashPay working. There's a couple key foundational pieces that are being worked on. Once that's fixed, then hopefully we'll be able to get a version that we can do a full round of regression testing. But we are a bit behind, as Sam mentioned, and have been on iOS just due to resource constraints. But we are trucking on. As soon as we're finished with the CoinJoin work, then we'll get into the same changes for username requests and voting. To try to meet these timelines, we may not have voting done on iOS, but would have the ability to at least request the username. So we want to get out something that's as complete as possible, but we also don't want to delay the entire ecosystem just because of iOS. So we're trying to find ways to do that. Invitations is another question mark on both Android and iOS. From the username changes that we had, we have to make some changes on the invitation process too. So that might be a fast follower. I don't think it's necessary to hold up all the username related and DashPay activities just for invitations. So more to come on that when we get closer. That is it on the mobile side.
Thank you very much. So we have just a few questions, and some of them are already answered in the chat, but let me highlight them. And if you have anything to add, please do. Why is there governance/MN managing in Qt if we have DMT? Isn't that double work, or are we decommissioning DMT? And XK answers, DMT is the double up. It was always a stopgap for the core wallet. Would you
Yeah,
like to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, DMT is a great product, but it is, an external product to us. We don't control or maintain it at all. I generally would. DMT is also like a generally kind of like client based or semi. I don't know the full architecture, but my understanding is that it is a like semi-trusted setup where you are using some of their RPC nodes for stuff. And the proper long-term way to do it is to have these kind of things inside of core where you can, actually vote there and create master nodes relatively easily. There's while it is a really valuable tool right now because Core hasn't had that functionality, I think its proper place in the ecosystem is inside of Core.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean, yeah.
I would like to point something out that's not true. In DMT, you have the ability to either use their node RPC as like a light client, or you can do it on your own. They give you the commands and you can issue the commands on your own node through Core. Honestly, it works. I've been using DMT for many years, and I personally will continue to use it. And I think one of the main things that you're trying to do is add some level of redundancy because I don't think DCG is going to have all of their features, right? That DMT currently has. And but having a little bit of redundancy between projects is also a good idea.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification. Yeah, I know there was something recently where some versions of DMT had issues due to basically some changes in RPC. And so by having it kind of unified in one place, right, that's so, it gives good redundancy. Yeah.
All right, thank you. The next question or offer is, who is testing Android app? I could help on that. So Major X says that he would like to help out in the testing of an Android app, as far as I understand. So please reach out to Brian in Discord, and I guess we will see how can you get involved.
Sorry, I couldn't find my mute button there. Yeah, just a quick note on that. I mean, from a testing perspective, particularly with username voting, it'd be great having people that are able to set up an Evo node or a master node on testnet. so we can get as many people contributing to that voting process as possible, because only a masternode or evennode can vote. So that's something that obviously could take some time to get set up. So anyone that is interested in contributing to the testing on that feature, that would be great. And yeah, just you can reach out on Discord or email. As far
That's
as
one extra thing. Masternodes can vote, guys, for contested usernames. It's not just Evo nodes. So if you're doing this on testnet, I would suggest just doing a masternode because it's maybe easier to set up than an Evo node on testnet.
yeah, I mean, the more anyone that can contribute, the better. I mean, obviously we need to test. We'll be testing internally the evennode scenarios, but the more nodes we have, whether they're master nodes or evennodes, the better. But if you're planning on contributing to voting, and you're planning on being an active voter on mainnet, I highly suggest contributing on testnet when you if you can. Just any feedback we get, would be helpful. So.
And
Thank
when
you.
would this process start?
When we finish the development. So, yeah, I mean,
just for our external users, when because if they come today, we're not ready for them today, right? So
no, we're not ready. Yeah, it's not ready to be tested today, but I mean, I don't know, what everyone's capacity is on getting something set up on testnet. So just wanted to give you some advanced timing on that to get something set up, if you do want to contribute. I would not, I mean, next week would be tight. It's possible that something could go out and be available next week, but I'm thinking more early the week after. We'll just have to wait and see how things go over the next couple of days. You also have to be aware, this is just the changes that we're incorporating here. I mean, our internal testing could prove that there's other changes that we need to make, or that platform even might need to make. So there's a few different variables that we're dealing with.
yeah. There was another question that happened. Oh, Przemek, any eyes on Grove DB queries RPC? It's taken a back burner because of the the issue in 1.3. I'll try to have it out in 1.4. I had forgotten about it when I made the slides today. It might have a higher priority than not than the withdrawals, but than the other thing that I had there. What was the other one? It was
Mobile?
no, query 2 more than, yeah, it's like the fees. There was an issue with the fees that needs to be resolved in 1.4, but I think that this query is probably more important. Maybe we can also get Yvonne to write it if he's available. There was
All
one
right.
more question here.
There are several. Is Evo already out? Yes.
Yes.
Is evolution coming too late, or will we get the community and the hype back? I guess it's a theoretical question.
Well, I don't know. In terms of numbers on our Discord, yeah, I mean, more people that we haven't seen in years have shown up, started talking, and started being more present on our Discord. So definitely it's on the upswing. Are we gonna push through and get crazy hype as in 2017, 2018? Could happen. I don't know. I think the chances is there, but I think what's a higher chance of happening right now is that we have Evo just released, right? People have a hard time using it because the SDKs don't work perfectly. Not everything is at 100%. So when we get to a level where it's easy for external developers, we have token support, we're going to start seeing things being built on it. And at that point, I think we're going to get a lot of hype, because even though the technology is really like new, like in terms of like what it can do, and nobody else can do this, nobody really knows right now. And if you just shout at the top of your lungs, hey, we have something new, nobody pays any attention anymore. Why? Because you have 400 other projects shouting that with no substance behind that. And average people don't have time to look at the tech of 400 different projects. So, we're going to have to climb up this hill. And but I think we will manage eventually, because we're going to, as we release new features and as we build new dApps that other chains just cannot do, it probably will start getting some hype. We're not there yet, but I have belief that it will happen.
All right, thank you very much. I think that was a good closing thought. I don't see any more questions with a Q or a question prefix. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the conversation, and see you in 2 weeks.
Take care, everybody.